Flipped overnight, the All Ords is little changed from yesterday's close. The man keeping an eye on the Australian Tax Office has raised concerns about the agency's immense power. The Inspector-General of Taxation, Noroozi, is calling on taxpayers to come forward with complaints about alleged unfair treatment relating to tax audits and delayed tax refunds. To explain this, we're joined by business editor Peter Ryan. Peter, where have these concerns come from?
Well, Jeremy, the Tax Office is enormously powerful, but we're fortunate that there is one man who was able to do the checks and balances to monitor the activities of the Tax Office to ensure that people who pay tax, whether that's people in households or businesses, get a fair go. And so today, or this morning, we're joined by Noroozi, who's the Inspector-General of Taxation, to explain what he's been looking at. And good morning, Ali. What are your main concerns about the power of the Tax Office, and where do you see the areas that you need to potentially step in and advise?
Good morning, Peter. The Tax Office, as I said, it's a large organisation and by and large does a good job. But being a monopoly, it's very important that there are proper governance procedures and that there is sufficient scrutiny so that there is such transparency that people have the utmost confidence in the system. So one of the jobs, I'm one of the scrutineering agencies on the Tax Office, and what I'm looking to do is list a number of issues that I would investigate. And I do this periodically, so I consult widely and see what the systemic issues are that I need to investigate.
Well, Ali, what are the main concerns that you have? And you've raised concerns about the monopoly-style power of the ATO. You're not suggesting that it be deregulated or anything like that, but what sort of corporate comparison would you give to the ATO?
I guess by necessity, the revenue agency of any country would have to be a monopoly. It's not like, for example, the telecommunication industry that you can deregulate. So instead, what you need, as I say, is proper governance procedures, proper scrutineer function, such that you can be assured that everything is being done as it should be. And I guess in terms of issues that I'll be looking at, I'm asking the public to come forward with issues, but having said that, during the course of the last year or so, a number of issues have been brought to my attention.
And what specifically are they? You've been looking particularly at the way that tax audits are done, and there are some concerns about the way that some classes of taxpayers might be selected for audit.
Yes, well, we have already looked at, for example, tax office handling of large business. We've also looked at tax office handling of larger SMEs and high wealth individuals. One of the other things that people, for example, want us to look at is look at how the tax office approaches micro business and individuals. Also, transfer pricing audits. How does the tax office handle those? In addition to that, the way tax office goes about its compliance approaches, i.e. its audit practices and so on, is based on risk. So they have various risk assessment tools whereby they identify who is to be looked at further and possibly audited. And what people are concerned with is that risk identification process, or want of a better word, the risk engine, how people come to be selected. There have been some questions raised about that, and that is something else that I've asked people to comment on as to whether it is something I should investigate.
Because some years it might be plumbers, it might be tradies, it might be accountants, it might even be journalists. But you're concerned that a computer is selecting these groups rather than real people.
Well, it's not just that. We need to investigate and find out exactly how it's done, but there would certainly be technological involvement, and then we need to see what are the inputs that go into that process and how people are identified. I guess the key question is you don't want to put people through an enormous compliance burden if they are compliant taxpayers. By the same token, any kind of filtering or profiling, you're always going to capture some that perhaps should not be in that group, but you want to minimize that And in addition to that, what you want to do is that should you inadvertently pick up compliant taxpayers, it should be easy for them to fall out of that process.
Just before we go, one very important final question. What are your concerns about the way that Operation Wickenby or Project Wickenby has been run? That's the pursuit of high wealth tax individuals. What are your concerns about that?
Well, Project Wickenby was something that's been raised with my office over a number of years. However, I didn't look at it in the last period because the Australian National Audit Office was going to do a review, and indeed the Ombudsman is also doing the review. So we continue to get concerns about it. Obviously, I haven't investigated to determine whether the allegations are true, but if there is some truth to those allegations, then it's certainly worthy of consideration. But I guess I'm asking people to comment to see whether it's still an issue for them, given the ANAO review and the Ombudsman's review.
Okay. Well, Ali Noroozi, thank you very much for joining us on ABC News 24. And Jeremy, it's a tough job being the Inspector-General of Taxation, but someone has to do it to keep those checks and balances in place.
That's right, Peter Ryan, thank you.